Agreement between Australia and Hong Kong marks a new season of hope for the future of world trade. The two countries have been at each other's throats for years, but now the hatchet's been buried by a treaty which allows unrestricted trading between all parties at all levels. I'm joined now by Martin Crace, the British Minister with special responsibility for the Commonwealth, and Gavin Hawtrey, the Australian Foreign Secretary in Canberra. Gentlemen, this is pretty historic stuff. Well done. A future of unbridled harmony then, Australia?
Yes, I think Martin Crace and I can be pretty satisfied. It's a good day.
And if, as in the past, Australia exceed their agreement, what will you do about it?
This is a very satisfactory treaty, which I'm sure will work well. Naturally, if the limits were exceeded, then this would be met with a firm line, but I can't see this being necessary.
Mr. Hawtrey, he's knocking a firm line in your direction. What are you going to do about that?
Well, in that case, we just reimpose sanctions as we did last year.
Sanctions? Hang on a second. They've only just swallowed their sanctions and now they're burping them back up in your face.
I think sanctions is rather premature talk. Certainly, if sanctions were imposed, we should have to retaliate with appropriate measures. But I can't
think appropriate measures is a euphemism, Mr. Hawtrey. You know what it means. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I just have to go back to Cabinet.
And ask them about what?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a matter for the military.
The military?
I think military measures is totally inappropriate reaction, and I think this is way, way over the top.
Sounds like you're being inappropriate, are you?
Of course I'm not being inappropriate, but Martin Crace knows that full well.
This is the sort of misunderstanding that I thought we'd laid to rest during our negotiating period.
Misunderstanding it certainly is. It's certainly not a treaty, is it? You're both at each other's throats. You're backing yourselves up with arms. What are you going to do about it? Mr. Hawtrey, let me give you a hint. Bang!
What are you asking me to say?
You know damn well what I'm asking you to say. You're putting yourself in a situation of armed conflict. What are you plunging yourself into?
You'd like me to say it?
I want you to say it, yes.
You want the word?
The word?
I will not flinch.
You will not flinch from?
War.
War. Gentlemen, I'll put you on hold. If fighting did break out, it will probably occur in Eastmanstown in the Upper Cataracts on the Australia-Hong Kong border. Our reporter Donald Bethlehem is there now. Donald, what's the atmosphere like?
Tension here is very high, Chris. The stretched twig of peace is at melting point. People here are literally bursting with war. This is very much a country that's going to blow up in its face.
Well, gentlemen, it seems you have little option now but to declare war immediately.
Well, this is quite impossible. I couldn't take such a decision without referring to my superior, Chris Patton. He's in Hong Kong.
Good, because he's on the line now via satellite. Mr. Patton, what do you think of the idea of a war now? I'll take that as a yes.
Very well, it's war.
War it is.
That's it, Chris. It's war. War has broken out. This is a war.
That's it. Yes, it's war. From now on, the Day-to-Day will be providing the most immediate coverage of any war ever fought. On the front line and in your face, Donald Bethlehem.
Standing by, Douglas Hurd.
The Day-to-Day smart bombs have nose-mounted cameras. This is Smart Bomb Stephen, and that is Susanna Gekkelois.
I'll be reporting from inside the fight.
Like some crazy Trojan. And keeping an eye on everything that's going on out there at the Day-to-Day news pipe, Douglas Trox. Chris. But first, the weather from Sylvester Stewart.
And now the weather, starting in the southeast, where the sun should plop through after a dull start, a bit like having your hand sewn back on after a farming accident. Let's revolve the weather collar now, 70 degrees to the Midlands, where I was first bereaved. And there'll be a large cack of heavy cloud covering the area, but it should stay dry enough for you to dance outside until our Lord Beelzebub calls upon us. Now, if we rotate the throat circle back to the West Country, and you can see there'll be several gits of bad weather across most of the sky. Some rain, but no more severe than soft porn. In summary then, and that's all the weather.
Back to the war, and on the front line in Eastmanstown, our reporter Donald Bethlehem. Donald, what's the latest?
As I swirled the last traces of toothpaste from my mouth this morning, a soldier's head flew past the window, shouting the word victory.
Seems to be a lot of action behind you there. Have you seen any fighting yourself?
Today I saw an old woman on the ground. She was lying in a pool of her own tomatoes.
Thank you, Donald. Earlier today, I've been down among the fighting myself. This is my report.
There's something about the way these people move that tells you they are a nation at war. Look into their eyes and you can read the words, "I have a reservation at the restaurant of death." It's a messy bistro with a bad name for soiling its customers' clothes. We've seen only one napkin in 4 days. The people here are confused, spending most of their time running about like idiots. Earlier today, we met a family who, thanks to this war, now have no home. A war which they feel anyway has nothing to do with them.
This is not our war. We are being forced to swallow the rotten egg of an angry political goose.
That boy is now a war orphan. One more victim of what they call here the desert confetti. I have a child about his age myself. When I phoned him 10 minutes ago, I told him to move out of the house to make room for his new brother.
Back live now. Progress on the day-to-day smart bomb. Jonathan, get rid of Hurd. Thanks.
Well, as you can see, Chris, there's the missile cruising about 2,000 per second, trying to locate the target, the soldier it's aimed at. There's the soldier, it goes in through the mouth, there, down the esophagus, into the stomach. There's the explosion.
Absolutely bang. That's the day-to-day, bringing you another tear on the face of the world's mother. Alan, sport.
Thanks, Chris. And now some late-night soccer results. I'm Alan Partridge. This is Division 2. Hull Paragraph 5, Portsmouth Bubblejet 1. Sheffield Hysterical 3, Chunky Norwich 1. Richmond Arithmetic versus Nottingham Marjorie match postponed due to bent pitch. Good night.
Susanna Gekelois has broken through to the front line. This is her contribution to history.
This is the very heart of the conflict. The men here have been fighting non-stop for 3 days. We drove in at night, straight into the middle of a rocket battle.
The air now is thick with what they call here the electric cornflakes. We're under strict instructions not to leave the vehicle, but to drive on through.
With no cover, we ran across open space to a nearby house. We found an injured man. We did our best. There are always casualties in war. There was a family sheltering in the back room. We had no tongue in common, but through the universal language of mutual need, I knew she was saying, "Come, set your equipment up in our refuge. The world must see this mess." These brave people are now sleeping, but they know that tomorrow our aerials and transmitters could make this house a prime target. Chris.
Back to the war now, and in the noise and heat of what they call here the flying scissor beans, there is no optimism, or at least wasn't, until just 2 minutes ago when we received these pictures of a miracle from the front line less than a mile from where I'm standing.
This was the scented rose in the bum gut of Satan, for here at 7:13 precisely, the fighting stopped. Soldiers who moments earlier had been shooting each other's teeth out suddenly put down their guns and joined in peaceful commune. Some played games, or like these men, planned a musical. The reason for this outburst of calm lay inside a shed, for here the massed forces of two world powers were unified by nothing more than the distress of a cat stuck on a high shelf. No one knows how it got there, but these brave fighting men, moved by the simplicity of the animal's plight, decided to forget their differences and try to get it down. But even as the men celebrated, their heads were blown clean off. For somebody, nobody knows who, had filled the cat with nitroglycerin.
The Day Today. News from telly to belly.